our fall. Through battles waged and fought, through victory and pain, by test of their courage, our freedom was gained. In homage to those gone before us, the heroes of lands in the sun, we vow to join hands and to focus on building one Caribbean. Raise your voices high, sing of your Caribbean pride. Sing it loud and strong, feel our hearts beat as one. Celebrate in song as we rise to heights where we belong. Sound the victory drum for Caracas.
and condemn the bullying action of Russia. And then we have the pandemic. The pandemic is not over, but I think you have a change of policy in the world. Who they're dead. They claim that they provide the means for people to save their lives, that people should get vaccinated, that people should adhere as best as they could to the protocol that is recommended. But countries realize we cannot continue to... somebody calling, saying I'm not hearing me. My mic is on? Yes, somebody's... I don't know if people hearing me now, but they seem to have trouble hearing me. Okay, so we're good now. We have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, my brother.
Well, I is one person who don't like communism, because I always tell people that you don't have freedom of speech in communism. And I hear they talk every day about they did love the revolution and they did love whatever. But you don't have freedom in that. But the topic with Russia and America, you see, there is a lot of injustice with how the Americans and Nato and these other places deal with the Russians. I mean, you go back to a lot of years, the things that they did to Russia and so forth, and His Imperial Majesty said in a speech to the UN a long, long time ago that where there is no equal rights and justice, there always going to be war, and that's what's going on in these countries. Thank you.
Yes, my brother. United States, Europe, and Russia, they bonded together in World War II to fight Germany. But then the dynamics change on the landscape. Europe become friends with Germany and United States of America, and Russia become their enemy. And both sides, we have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome.
Yeah, Mr. Pierre, good day.
Yes, my brother.
Yeah, people surprised about what Russia doing. They say, look at Russia going to win. But like people, they might find so in Russia, but that's just in nature why people, because history said so. And not me, I said, could do the research. History said so that it's just in nature to kill, steal, and destroy. Look back on the wall and see all the atrocities that take place in the wall, and see who does it. Even the God they give us, join the wall. And not only that, is still preparing a hellfire with brimstone to people. All that is European things. That not people. It's time for people to wake up. This all this thing they give us. This thing is not true. You should look back and see the history of it. And look, search the whole wall over, and see if you see an Aboriginal white person, indigenous white person. You can't find that nowhere in the world. So that this will come to kill change. You might say, but history will bear me out. Look back at all World War I, World War II, slavery, colonialism. Look at all the atrocities going on, and it's them that do it. So who look at me as a racist or whatever? What the history will bear me out. Look back for yourself, do the research, and go see who commit all the atrocities and destroy the world. Because the world of peace is just recovering from a pandemic. Whether we like Russia, don't like the ism or what kind of ism. None of the ism not to help black people. So because Russia hold aside America. When America is capitalism, who backing capitalism, but all them is a ism they supporting. But when they check the whole nature of the thing, they don't like black people. They see what's going on in Ukraine, they blocking back, they're taking the dogs and animals and the boss, they are accepting that, but they don't want black people to board the boss. Take a look at that thing. It's time for people to wake up, man. Mr. Pierre, you take care and have a nice day, man.
Yes, thank you, my brother. And when we're speaking about these countries, and we very quick to make cast our opinions, I agree with you. To a good extent, we should go back in history. For about 300 years, the Romans controlled England. So you always have these issues where countries trying to dominate countries. You had the Vikings, so you always have domination of countries. And even in Africa, you had these dominations too. I think a lot of a sense of peace, if we could call it that, came around after World War II. People realize how devastating war is. Between World War I and World War II, millions and millions of people died. And then people decide to come together to try to put peace in the world and to accept multilateralism. So when you go back in history, man has always been fighting. Whether we argue that the British colonized Grenada once Rome controlled England. So we could go further back. And the same thing in these Eastern Bloc countries. Russia didn't have much to do with Africa in terms of colonization, but that's the same attitude they have in their area with the period of the Tsar and etc. But I think no, wrong is wrong. And the voices should be condemning the bully. Because Ukraine is a sovereign country and is an independent country. And Ukraine is supposed to be able to affiliate with which country they want. You know? This war, the Pope called it a massacre. And he's calling on Christians to pray for the war to end, to pray for peace. Because as a Christian people who believe in Jesus Christ, the only thing perhaps you could do is to pray. You can't help Ukraine, you can't help Russia. Nothing that you say in Grenada here would be able to stop these individuals from killing one another. But people are dying. Russia gives Ukraine, I think I'm seeing 8 o'clock this morning, I went to surrender in Mariupol. And they said almost 80% of Mariupol is already destroyed. Let's say 20%, because each side does blow up the news to suit them. So now maybe they might cap it, bomb the place. And Ukraine decided not surrendering. I guess they must be believing if we surrender in Mariupol, it will be worse. We're going to have to surrender. So they want to make Russia look as bloody as possible. And both sides is calling on China not to help Russia. So it's a real issue is going on there. But we in Grenada, we could express our views and opinions on it. We have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr.
Yes,
Pierre.
my brother.
Okay, you have your child or children, right? They bring up in the world. There is a big man. They decide to go on your own and they build your own home. Right? When they build your own home, you cannot in the human skill tell them pass orders and tell them what to do. It's your child. They only want to become big man. So I believe Russia, yes, let's say Ukraine was under the control of the Soviet Union. But Soviet Union mash up and the Ukraine become an independent country. I do believe you have to respect the choice Ukraine make. Right? If Russia has a problem with NATO, deal with NATO. Go and sit down and negotiate with NATO. What should you want to go invade in this country? Right? And look at, even I always say, before fighting, fight the war with soldiers versus soldiers. Innocent people in their home. We get bombing on schools, hospitals. We get bombing on killing people. Right? I can support that. Right? I can support that. I have to say again to people, yes, wrong can make a right. But then you have to respect one. Just as we have children and respect our children's choice to go on their own and have their own home. Right? You cannot go in the home and pass orders and tell them what to do. Right? Ukraine become an independent country. You have to respect the country. So, Mr. Pierre, that's my love.
Yes, my brother, thank you. And no matter what we do, it affects Grenada. It affects Grenada. This war that is going on, and definitely it could get worse. Because war could start and eventually other countries could involve in it and you end up in a world war. 144 countries in the world condemned the invasion of Ukraine. A number of countries have taken in refugees from Ukraine, and others are giving them military assistance. So only a matter of time, this war could spill over and you could have World War III. And it is said that these people have enough firepower to destroy the world with a nuclear weapon. And I think this is what is holding back other countries don't join it because you're fighting a superpower. And if Russia is cornered, she's going to fire a nuclear weapon. And France, England, Germany, all of them have nuclear weapons. And then you have a world war. Small countries as ours, we only could watch and pray. So let us pray. And this is Lenten season. And it's important when we see these conflicts, we in Grenada settle our own conflicts. Because we're making war here too, This is a period of time, we're in the 4th year of a government. So it means that election could come anytime. And all the political forces in Grenada is charged. All the political forces are charged. Some people, you have the politicians, you have radio personalities like us. Some have the color charge and they're ready to go to war. But we have to remember that no matter what we do, we could damage our country. And as a number of countries would tell you now, this is not about ideology. This is about the economic realities of Grenada. Grenada is a small country. A small country that is described in the 3rd world. We have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome.
Yeah, Mr. P.
Yes, sir.
Mr. P, that's why when that hard time comes, we need a government, a stable government, a government that's competent to deal with hard times. Because, you see, when you have a government that tries to tested and delivered, you cannot get rid of government, bringing people who never go through trial and tribulation and bring to government. Because when difficult times come, they will know how to handle it. When you have a government that could handle the difficult times and continue to deliver, I say to the Ghanaian people, we have a government that delivered and tried tested. Let us continue with the government because you see, I always see a man and a man that could stand the test of times. When the hard time comes, he's able to cope with it. There's a man that when good times come, he cope with the good time. When difficult time comes, he crumbles. So I want to say to the Ghanaian people, let us keep what we have because we know the government tried, tested, and they continue to deliver. It's good for everyone. So I will bless you.
In the democratic system, one of the responsibilities of a political party is to sell themselves. Remember, nobody is going to volunteer to keep you in power because you believe you have done an exceptionally good job. Even if you tie gold on people. So the government, which is the political party's NNP, the government is for everybody. We have a call on the line. Caller, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Pierre.
Yes.
Pleasant Monday to you and to everyone listening here, woman abroad. I just want to take the opportunity to express condolences to all those who would have lost loved ones over the weekend, and especially to that of Mr. Baptiste and the lady, Miss Florence, on the passing of the young daughter at the prime of her life. She was a good soul. May her soul rest in peace. And somehow, today is the World Down Syndrome Day, and these are special people among us. You might observe during the course of the day a lot of the school children are wearing brightly colored socks and, socks with different patterns. And this is all in an effort to create awareness of, these people and what they're doing. They're a part of our community. To the teachers who work with them and to the parents, I say take a bow. You work hard. Sometimes you have to exercise patience. And these people really do add to, the development of our society. Because of these efforts today, people are going out and purchasing stocks, and this adds to the economic, of the people that, are there and maybe wasn't selling us socks, but now they can say they sold out. To our very own Afi Fletcher, we say congratulations. The people of Lafayette and surrounding and Grenada, by extension, you continue to raise our flag on the big stage. We are immensely proud of you and, whatever you're doing for the development of cricket on the big stage. Thanks. Let us remember the efforts of Sir Uncle Gary for giving us the pasture so our boys can go out and train, and let us encourage them to continue to make use of it. Mr. Pierre, I also have a concern. You know, sometimes there are people who say, oh, you're always on the radio, you're always calling. And they must know that there are different people in different walks of life who have different passion. Your own might be listening to the radio. My own might be talking. I love it. I listen to every program I could. If people would observe, maybe I'm always having or walking with a small radio because I want to be informed and I do not want anybody to tell me, well, you could say that. I want to be a part of what is going on. And I mean, it's not a two-day thing. I grew up with that. This is how I will always remember my father having a small transistor radio. You go to the garden and we could hear cricket, or you could be a part of the world news. So, you know, we all love different things, and this is my passion. Sometimes people call from all over the world to say, oh, Brother, you make my day because, you know, I've listened to you, I'm hearing you, and it's good to be out in the north and hearing somebody from Grenada. So to all of us, let us make use of our passion and do what is in our best interest for the development of Grenada. Thank you, Mr. Pierre, for your time, and thank you for this medium.
And please don't stop calling my program. I miss you, and I enjoy the call, and particularly remind me about Afi Fletcher. You know, these things are important. A young girl from Lafayette, and her roots are from the surrounding areas. So normally I would say Parklet, Dunfermline, Maryborough, Bylands, etc. Sometimes people so negative that it makes the young people believe there is no hope. But when we find people who have excelled excessively in the community, we must be proud of them and highlight them. And the young girls from Lafayette, Parklet, Dunfermline, Moya, etc. around the area that knows Afi Fletcher. Afi didn't born with no gold spoon in her mouth. Nobody tied gold on Afi. So I'm always saying that there is no Grenadian child now that could say, I cannot excel because I don't have the basic requirements. No one. For the last 7 years, I've been saying this on radio. The Ministry of Social Affairs and the Ministry of Education says there is nobody in Grenada that could say the child cannot excel in school or cannot attend school because they don't have the basic requirements. And we need to tell our children that. We need to tell the young men that believe they're going to dead before they reach 30 years. We need to tell those that perhaps losing hope because they're listening to the negative vibes and criticism on social media and our radios. You could succeed. There's a lot of talents between Moncton, Lafayette, Parklet, Dunfermline, and the surrounding areas. A significant number of the boys played cricket for Grenada. So we have talents. And our children must do well in school. And Afi's success in sport must be highlighted, particularly among the people of Lafayette, Moncton, Parklet, and the surrounding areas. And she didn't born with no gold spoon. So I think that is important for her. And my brother Baptiste, my sympathy goes with you in this time. It's a trying time. God give us and God take from us. One of the most powerful things we could do is to continue to pray for our loved ones. Remember, they went down to Jerusalem to pray for those who died. And the Bible says a good and wholesome thing to pray for the dead. And all the people who was said in the Bible that God raised from the dead, none of them went and asked God to raise them from the dead. Their family interceded on their behalf. They prayed. And these people were raised from the dead. So it's a good and wholesome thing to do, to pray for those who have died, those who have transitioned, those who have gone to the great beyond. Jesus Christ is sleeping. So my brother, family, and friends of Michael Baptiste continue to pray for the soul of his daughter. And my brother Hudson, reading a post from Facebook, what are the main functions of NATO? Why Haiti is being suffering? Why we as black people focus on Ukraine? Why the Western countries are sanctioning African countries that take land from the European settlers? Will the French allow Martinique and Guadeloupe to become independent of France? This war between Russia and Ukraine is all about oil and gas and geopolitical position. This war has nothing to do with us black people. Europeans have a history of changing political countries. Well, a lot what you say might be true. What are the main functions of NATO? Why Haiti has been suffering? A lot of different subject matter. On the question of Haiti, I don't think the Caribbean is supportive of Haiti enough. I don't think we have a strong voice enough in the Caribbean about Haiti. And we knew Haiti history with the French. Haiti was one of the countries that the French charged. They fined Haiti for their independence, And Haiti is still struggling, and it may continue to struggle for a number of years. I think the Caribbean voice must be stronger where Haiti is concerned. And Haitians themselves have to be taught to settle down. Does that affect us, the Ukraine-Russia war? Yes. It would seriously affect the price of oil. It could run our economy on the ground. It could cause serious social instability in the Caribbean if the oil price get out of hand. Russia and Ukraine, I think, produce about 30% of the world grain. And it means that it would affect the price of flour and other products as a result from grain. So it would affect us. In addition to that, because of our religious connection, Christianity, we have a lot of Christians in that area, so it will affect us. It also affects the geopolitical, because you have Jews in that area. And the Prime Minister is already alluding, when he was addressing the Israeli Knesset, he's making mention of the prosecution with Germany, with the prosecution there. Because of this world is a little village, so we hear in the news. So it's affecting us mentally and psychologically. Yes, my brother Hudson, it affects us. But we must also concentrate how it affects us and prepare to deal with it. We can't ignore it. We have to look at it and strengthen our people's resolve and let them come up with answers. Particularly in this period of time in Grenada, we are just trying to survive from a pandemic. A pandemic where Grenadians, less than about 30% of the people in Grenada is vaccinated. We know that our people seems to be reluctant to get vaccinated for whatever reason. They're reluctant. And if we have another outbreak, it could seriously affect us. We do hope maybe the climatic condition, maybe our housing stock, because a lot of Grenadians live in an independent housing unit, not in condominiums. Well, yes, we just start this, the Chinese housing scheme is somewhat like that. But a lot of people in the United States, England, and these big countries live in little cubicle. And as a result, it's perhaps more difficult, much more difficult to manage the virus disease than we in Grenada, who tend to have quite a lot of room space. And we have to be careful. We have to call on the seniors, the older people in Grenada, the people who are more vulnerable, to get vaccinated. The country is going to free up. We're trying to come back to normal. We're going to remove the curfew, the emergency rule. People will be able to move around, and mask is an option. Vaccination is an option. You will be able to attend any public activity without much hindrance. But you have to be mindful. The new position is who dead. It means that they calculate the percentage of death and say we will have to live with it. We can't continue to destroy our economy if 1% of the people die. They could advise the people in the most vulnerable group to be vaccinated. It's almost a paradox. Some people who are not taking vaccination are bringing their children to be vaccinated. And that is what saddens my heart. Because the leaders of the trade union, the leaders of the churches, the leaders of the political party, the leaders of some of the civic group, all of them get vaccinated. All of them take vaccination. But they're not encouraging people to be vaccinated. So my appeal is for you who are in the group. I have taken the third shot, and as soon as the fourth one is available, I'll take it. Because I believe that vaccination helps. There is no cure for any virus disease. What you do, you develop the body to fight the disease, and you help the body with vaccination. And Grenada is presently protecting itself from about 14 different diseases vis-a-vis vaccination. So vaccination helps. This is the best option. If anybody have another option, make it publicly known. You wouldn't hear much about vaccination again. You remember we had Zika in Grenada. We have Zika in Grenada. But you don't hear much talk about Zika. Every now and then a girl is going to make a child, or a woman is going to make a child with a microcephalic head, a big head. And that is when you're going to recognize that you have Zika. You're going to have people affected with arthritis, and that might look normal. The situation where you have deformed children. So these diseases become endemic in the country. And once the percentage of death is between the acceptable level, we continue to go on and wait for the next disease. You know? So you can give us a call. The number to call is 442-0175. And we speak about anything. You know? My brother asking what is the main functions of Nato. All these things start after World War II. And countries decide, let us bond together. Because remember, we had the Alliance and the Axis in World War II. So countries are joining up together, forming different trade groups and different grouping to deal with the issues of the world. As you say, the geopolitical. The only thing is the world gets small. All of us involved. We either become pawns in the game, like in the Cold War we were pawns, or we align ourselves while we live in the cage with the bear. Every time the bear turn back, we smile. If we close to Russia, every time Russia turn back, we have to smile. If we close to America and Europe, every time they turn back, we have to smile. We are small countries. Our survival is important. Our politicians have to be diplomatic. Sometimes you can't call a spade if everybody calling it a shovel. Or if the international community wants you to call it a shovel. During all this time, we in Grenada have a responsibility. We have a duty, a moral responsibility to make certain that we give our children the best deal to survive in this world. And the best deal is to make certain our children are well educated, multi-skilled, multi-talented, and endowed with the characteristic that gives them the competitive edge. This must sink in. This is the responsibility of parents. Organizations must understand that. You know, We can't sit down and tearing down all the young people. The sister remind me, and that's why I like when she called. She remind me about Afi Fletcher. She remind me of Michael Baptiste's daughter. You have one of them that is studying for a law degree. And these things are so important. And then she also remind me of Down Syndrome Day. We have to have a people with compassion. We have to prepare to be helpful. You have to empathize. In all the polarization in Grenada and the harsh language, we cannot forget to be compassionate. We cannot forget these things. It's so easy for the people who have Down syndromes to be cast aside. It's so easy now for us to cast aspersion, for us to demonize a group of people. I noticed recently we are making much ado about handouts. And we seem to want to make people feel guilty for accepting handouts. Perhaps we have to go back and find out the definition of handouts. Or maybe you could even give me a call and tell me what problem you have with handouts. We're making such an issue of it, like we want to shame people who have to accept handouts. This is not good. It's not good at all. Particularly during this Lenten time. Christians are called to pray, and when you pray, you love God. To fast, when you fast, you love yourself. And to give alms. When you give alms, you love others. And sometimes he has a commercial rippling effect too. When you buy the two-tone socks that represent Down syndrome, the businessman happy. You help to push the economy. So don't believe you could do anything with a businessman not trying to make maximum use of it. That is the purpose of businessmen. They would be in the forefront of highlighting Down Syndrome Day because they are also likely to make money from it. And nothing is wrong with that. And you could give me a call. The number to call is 442-0175. Black people fought in World War I and World War II. And that is my brother Hudson. Yet still racism is still a social disease. Well, we will not get rid of racism. Let's face it. If Africa is the cradle of civilization, then the white man have a right to Africa too. If Africa is the cradle of civilization, then why we do not believe that the white man have a right to Africa too? The white man have a right to Africa. We have instances where black people have been treating black people very badly. Colonization and slavery was recent time with the white man. But the white man has been enslaving the white man too. You see, as a black nation, black Africa have to unite. Africa have about 1.2 billion people. 1.2 billion, I believe. China, 1 point something billion. A lot of these big countries is billion of people. But Africa have 57 states, 57 different countries. And every day, it seems they want to subdivide. Instead of coming together and unite to make them stronger, they're fighting to subdivide. And that is the challenge that we have with Africa. We in the Caribbean here is about 7-8 million people. So much of different countries. We're struggling to unite in CARICOM. We're struggling. Does Grenadians readily accept other members of the Caribbean in the country? Jamaicans and St. Vincent and Vincentians and St. Lucian? Do we readily accept Haitians? Almost all the countries in the Caribbean worried about the size of their population. The population is not improving. So it must be of concern to these countries. Barbados, Grenada, St. Vincent, Dominica population shrinking. The Prime Minister was on radio begging people to make children. That can solve Dominica problem. Dominica to bring in 40, 50,000 people over the next 5-6 years. Grenada need to increase the population by about 30,000 people over the next 3, 4, 5 years. But does the political parties have the strength to do that? No, they don't. Because the opposition is going to object. But why not people, individual personalities, continue to advocate that? So you alleviate the pressure from the political parties. We need more people in Grenada. Look around you and see the level of the facilities that improve in terms of sporting facilities. You hardly have people to play. We provide facilities for night so that the play fields are lit. But what you need now is more people. Barbados have the same problem. You know? Yet, are we welcoming to Haitians living in our country? My brother, we complaining about how United States and Nato treating Haiti. What's about us in the Caribbean? Are we welcoming to Haiti? We have politicians still accusing Haiti of phobia. Say they help to win election. We as a people have to change. The issues start with us. And I believe Grenada is well poised to make a difference. If we make the change in Grenada, we could be seriously successful and other Caribbean islands could follow. So we have to reach out to Haiti. Is Grenadians willing to accept a couple hundred Haitians in Grenada? You know, our schools, some of our schools need more children. Imagine in Grenada you have a school with about 200 children. Let me give you an example. A primary school in Grenada with about 200 children would have about 12 to 15 teachers. That school would have a principal, a deputy principal, a secretary, departmental heads, 2 cooks, 2 cleaners, a groundsman, security. They have hand sanitizers, individual to stand up and pour the sanitizers on children's hands. In addition to that, they would have individuals to help children when hormones jumping up in their body. You know, when children reach a certain age, hormones start to jump up. Counselors, they have coaches. At school, the children in the school have their own tablets. They can get lunch in the school. If they don't have money to pay $1, $1.50, government pay that for them. They have access to karate if the school won the karate. The karate is available, but some schools don't interested. We have schools in Grenada with musical instrument rocking. The schools have people volunteer to teach them, but the schools not interested. We have schools in Grenada with table tennis board rocking, but the schools not interested. So, you know, these are the issues. We have a responsibility, we have a duty, and we have an obligation to give more help, to give more support. It's so easy to condemn NATO, but I always say, what's about Grenada? Our sister saying with the upcoming election, are you ready to campaign for your party? Serious question. I do not openly flaunt any political party. I do not openly flaunt any political party. I'm not neutral. I vote on election day. And I'm very political. I speak a lot about CARICOM, politics with CARICOM, Black Africa, you know, things that perhaps may transcend political parties, you know. So you would not see me in colors campaigning for any political party, but I'm always involved in politics. And perhaps when Portia Simpson left the forefront of the political party, I spoke on it and felt that she should be another voice in CARICOM, speaking on issues that transcend political parties. Speak about CARICOM. Take issue on the environment. Even Tillman Thomas, he's still actively involved in the politics, in the party politics. But it was good to hear his voice on issues that transcend party politics, like our education system, like youth, young people, and the social decadence in the Caribbean, Jamaica and Trinidad, violence, you know, the environment. And that might help to move the politics in a better direction. There are some issues that is difficult for when you're involved in politics to openly flaunt. Yeah? Yes, my brothers and sisters, you're free to pick up the telephone and give me a call. And as we say, we speak on any issue. Somebody asked, is Ukraine an official member of Nato? No, Ukraine is not a member of Nato. I think that's what the war is, because Russia claimed that Ukraine want to join NATO. And they want Ukraine to say perhaps they would never join NATO. You know, which is a bag of... Sometimes when people want to fight, it's very difficult, because the people in Ukraine or the prime minister must believe that if I say that I'm giving up my independence and rights and etc. Russia, at one situation between Russia and Ukraine, they signed a treaty that Russia would not invade Ukraine. But Russia don't bother with that treaty. So these are some of the issues that happen in these countries in them. Somebody asking, the days of free barrels are over. Free barrels cause a lot of issue in Grenada. You know. Ask Joan Postle. Once she maintained that Caricunian like free barrel too much, they make song on her, you know. They call her barrel woman, and she couldn't win election again. That was the beginning and end of her. So one has to be careful about free barrel. Some of the businessmen not very supportive of free barrel, because they claim the people getting free barrel, but with it they're selling things that the businessman selling. So they get their cream and arm spray and whatever. They didn't pay any duty on it. The businessman have to pay duty. He have to pay VAT. And these people selling this product in front of the businessman do. And I think a couple years ago, this free barrel was removed. But people don't pay much on a barrel. I don't know exactly, but maybe $100, $150, $200. I've not heard anybody really crying. So sometimes when government makes the decision, it's more symbolic. You say free barrel, and perhaps the amount did not seriously affect the person who received the barrel. It affected the coffers of government, but it didn't seriously affect the person who received the barrel. Sometimes you pay more for the transportation of the barrel than what you pay custom for the barrel. You know, so this is what it is. And Brother Hudson saying, no, Ukraine is not a member of NATO. NATO is the armed force that protect the European Union and the United States. Maybe it's the work of God, because if Russia and NATO become friends, what will happen to black people? Interesting conversation. You feel whole of them might turn and invade Africa. Nice discussion. That we might have to take on that in a separate discussion and topic next time. But it's an interesting conversation. But we as black people, the time that black people have to zero in on ourselves, I see, sometimes I like to relate a lot of things into Grenada. One of the challenges we have as black people, we are not investing. A lot of black people, very intelligent, they want a job. but they are not investing. They don't have confidence in themselves and their own people. They don't have confidence in their own country. Take, for instance, a small country like Grenada. They would send several hundred of students away to turn professionals, to study 5, 6, 7 years. When the students return to Grenada, irrespective of the amount of money we spend on them, a significant number of them would go to foreign countries. They go to England, United States, Canada, America, Germany, and work. And Grenada government that spend money to educate them do not have the benefit of the talents and skills that they have. So we're not better off because we spend thousands of dollars, hard-earned tax money, and the negotiating skills of politicians to beg countries to train them. But some of them never come back. And those who come back, some of them productivity is very low because they believe they are not treated properly, they are not paid enough. They want to pay higher than they pay scale. And they tell you a study hard. They never say to you that taxpayers' money educate me. So this is a challenge that we have. How are you going to develop small third world countries if the people you invest in do not come back and help you? I'll give you an example. If you go on the block and you sit down there, and 15 persons on the block, and out of the 15, 14 of them did not go to college, did not have a further education, did not go to university, tertiary, did not have tertiary education. And out of these 14, maybe 11 of them have a police record. Because normally, the majority of guys on the bridge or on the block, majority of people are males. The whole discussion on the block would be totally different than if you had a significant percentage of the people reflective of the education dynamics in Grenada. If you had a significant percentage of the people had tertiary education, or they were professionals, or the pastor come and stop on the bridge for 1 minute without preaching about God, or trying to convert everybody, even the groups in the village would be different. If you find a developmental group in a community, you would not find those who think they're bright or those who believe they are successful. They abscond the community. When you hear their names, it's because the guys on the block or the women in the block speaking about them to raise the esteem or the prestige of the community. But they abscond the community. And this is one of the reasons our country is so taking time to grow. I believe our politician has done an exceptionally good job in Grenada. Particularly, we have done an exceptionally good job. But just let me run through some of them. During Gary days, we had 28 schools built in 13.5 years. Remember in 1974 how tumultuous that period was as we strive for independence. And immediately after independence in 1974, Gary was on the St. George's University. By 1977, 3 years later, we were able to start the St. George's University in Grenada. Maurice Bishop came in, overthrew the government, but Maurice Bishop continued to send people away. Russia, East Germany, the Czechoslovakia, some of the communist countries. Bishop Cuba, several hundred Grenadians got educated. The revolution collapsed in 1983. A lot of the people who was educated in the revolution, United States grabbed them up. United States never reject them and say, you are training East Bloc countries, or communist countries. They were employed in the United States. So Grenada didn't have the benefit of its reward. Today, we are educating more people than any other time in our history. The St. George's University is giving more scholarship. And plus that, Grenadians that go there, maybe about 10% of the fee that they pay. So our politicians have placed significant emphasis on education. And they have tried. But I don't think our people's attitude needs to change. Today, electricity, telephone, water, and internet is second to none in the Caribbean, comparable with the best and better than most. We have one of the best network of roads in the Caribbean. And our teacher-to-children ratio is second to none. About 20% of our teachers drive themselves to school. And that is to tell you they have discretionary income. And children in primary school have tablets. We are a small country, a third world country. And in the CARICOM, we are part of the lesser developed. But look at the achievement we have on the ground. And we spend more money on social safety net than anybody else in the region. And I think that is a good thing because you're trying to avoid the destitute poor. We want to thank you for being with us today. And we want to thank all our callers. And we'll be back with you tomorrow for another program on Target. Thank you.
The heroes of lands in the raise your voices high, sing of your Caribbean pride, sing it loud and strong, feel our hearts beat as one, celebrating song as we rise to heights where we belong, sound of victory drum for CARICOM. Though great and diverse be our ethnicities, the bonds that unite us are stronger than